The massive silver ships hung in Earth's sky like deadly metal clouds. Commander Zarthek stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the blue planet below through cold yellow eyes. His black uniform gleamed with medals from 100 conquered worlds. The Galactic Empire had never failed to crush a primitive planet like this one called Earth. "Begin the landing operation," Zarthek commanded his officers. "We'll establish our base in the forest region. These humans won't know what hit them." The Empire had studied Earth for months. They knew humans were weak, divided, and fought each other constantly. Their technology was laughably primitive compared to the Empire's advanced weapons and shields. This would be the easiest conquest in galactic history. 3 massive transport ships descended toward the dense forest outside what humans called Seattle. Each ship carried 50 of the Empire's elite soldiers, equipped with energy weapons, personal shields, and armor that could stop bullets. These weren't ordinary troops. They were the Empire's finest warriors who had conquered star systems. As the ships landed in a forest clearing, Commander Zarthek felt confident. His elite troops would build a forward base in hours, then march on the nearby human city. The planet would surrender within days, maybe hours, once they saw the Empire's power. But something went wrong the moment they stepped out of their ships. The forest was nothing like the sterile, controlled environments these soldiers knew. Strange sounds echoed from every direction, birds calling, insects buzzing, leaves rustling in ways that sounded almost like whispers. The trees were enormous, blocking out the sky and creating dark shadows everywhere. Captain Veltar, Zarthek's second-in-command, tried to set up the base scanner. The device should have mapped the entire area in minutes, but it kept giving strange readings. The forest seemed to interfere with their technology in ways they didn't understand. "Sir," reported Sergeant Kexelon, his voice tight with confusion. "Our communication systems are acting strange. We're getting interference from something," Zarthek frowned. This had never happened before. On every other world, their technology worked perfectly. But here, their advanced systems seemed confused by something as simple as trees and dirt. Then the real problem started. A loud crack echoed through the forest as a massive tree branch fell near their landing zone. The elite soldiers, trained to fight in space battles and on metal worlds, jumped at the sound. They'd never heard anything like it before. "Was that weapons fire?" whispered Private Noxon, gripping his energy rifle. "Negative," replied Captain Veltar, but his voice shook slightly. "It appears to be natural." The word natural was foreign to these soldiers. They came from a galaxy where every world was either completely urban or completely barren. Forests, with their unpredictable sounds and movements, were like alien battlefields they'd never trained for. More branches creaked overhead. Somewhere in the distance, an owl hooted, a sound none of them recognized. To ears trained for the hum of starships and the buzz of energy weapons, these forest sounds were terrifying. "Establish a perimeter," Zarthek ordered, trying to sound confident. But even his voice carried a note of uncertainty. The elite soldiers spread out, but they moved carefully, jumping at every sound. A squirrel ran across a branch above them, and 3 soldiers immediately aimed their weapons skyward. "Contact! Unknown fast-moving target!" shouted Corporal Dexvar. "Stand down!" Zarthek commanded. "It's just some kind of small creature," but the damage was done. The legendary discipline of the Empire's elite was cracking. These soldiers who had faced laser cannons and plasma bombs were being rattled by woodland animals. As the hours passed, things got worse. The soldiers couldn't figure out how to set up their base properly. The ground was soft and uneven, not like the flat metal surfaces they were used to. Their equipment kept sinking into the dirt or getting caught on roots. Meanwhile, 20 miles away, a human military unit was getting very different results. Master Sergeant Sarah Chen watched the alien ships land through her binoculars. She'd been waiting for this moment since the ships first appeared in the sky 3 days ago. While politicians argued and generals made plans, Chen and her engineering team had been preparing. "Johnson, Rodriguez, get the prefab sections ready," she called to her team. "We've got 6 hours to build our base before those aliens figure out what they're doing." Unlike the alien elite, Chen's team knew exactly how to work in a forest. They'd trained in every environment on Earth. They knew which trees to cut, how to level ground quickly, and how to use natural features for defense. The human team moved like a machine. While the aliens struggled with basic setup, the humans were already clearing their site with portable saws. They worked in the darkness using night vision gear, something the light-sensitive aliens couldn't match. "Foundation frames are ready," reported Corporal Johnson. "We can start assembly in 30 minutes, Chen smiled grimly. The aliens had made a crucial mistake. They'd assumed humans were primitive because their technology looked simple. But sometimes simple technology worked better than complex systems, especially in natural environments. The race was on. The Galactic Empire's elite soldiers were supposed to be unstoppable. But in the deep woods of Earth, they were discovering that all their advanced training meant nothing when they couldn't even figure out how to dig a hole in soft ground. As dawn approached, two very different stories were unfolding in the same forest. The massive silver ships hung in Earth's sky like deadly metal clouds. Commander Zarthek stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the blue planet below through cold yellow eyes. His black uniform gleamed with medals from 100 conquered worlds. The Galactic Empire had never failed to crush a primitive planet like this one called Earth. "Begin the landing operation," Zarthek commanded his officers. "We'll establish our base in the forest region. These humans won't know what hit them." The Empire had studied Earth for months. They knew humans were weak, divided, and fought each other constantly. Their technology was laughably primitive compared to the Empire's advanced weapons and shields. This would be the easiest conquest in galactic history. 3 massive transport ships descended toward the dense forest outside what humans called Seattle. Each ship carried 50 of the Empire's elite soldiers, equipped with energy weapons, personal shields, and armor that could stop bullets. These weren't ordinary troops. They were the Empire's finest warriors who had conquered star systems. As the ships landed in a forest clearing, Commander Zarthek felt confident. His elite troops would build a forward base in hours, then march on the nearby human city. The planet would surrender within days, maybe hours, once they saw the Empire's power. But something went wrong the moment they stepped out of their ships. The forest was nothing like the sterile, controlled environments these soldiers knew. Strange sounds echoed from every direction. Birds calling, insects buzzing, leaves rustling in ways that sounded almost like whispers. The trees were enormous, blocking out the sky and creating dark shadows everywhere. Captain Veltar, Zarthek's second-in-command, tried to set up the base scanner. The device should have mapped the entire area in minutes, but it kept giving strange readings. The forest seemed to interfere with their technology in ways they didn't understand. "Sir," reported Sergeant Kexelon, his voice tight with confusion, "our communication systems are acting strange. We're getting interference from something." Zarthek frowned. This had never happened before. On every other world, their technology worked perfectly. But here, their advanced systems seemed confused by something as simple as trees and dirt. Then the real problem started. A loud crack echoed through the forest as a massive tree branch fell near their landing zone. The elite soldiers, trained to fight in space battles and on metal worlds, jumped at the sound. They'd never heard anything like it before. "Was that weapons fire?" whispered Private Noxon, gripping his energy rifle. "Negative," replied Captain Veltar, but his voice shook slightly. "It appears to be unnatural." The word natural was foreign to these soldiers. They came from a galaxy where every world was either completely urban or completely barren. Forests, with their unpredictable sounds and movements, were like alien battlefields they'd never trained for. More branches creaked overhead. Somewhere in the distance, an owl hooted, a sound none of them recognized. To ears trained for the hum of starships and the buzz of energy weapons, these forest sounds were terrifying. "Establish a perimeter," Zarthek ordered, trying to sound confident. But even his voice carried a note of uncertainty. The elite soldiers spread out, but they moved carefully, jumping at every sound. A squirrel ran across a branch above them, and 3 soldiers immediately aimed their weapons skyward. "Contact. Unknown fast-moving target," shouted Corporal Dexvar. "Stand down," Zarthek commanded. "It's just some kind of small creature," but the damage was done. The legendary discipline of the Empire's elite was cracking. These soldiers who had faced laser cannons and plasma bombs were being rattled by woodland animals. As the hours passed, things got worse. The soldiers couldn't figure out how to set up their base properly. The ground was soft and uneven, not like the flat metal surfaces they were used to. Their equipment kept sinking into the dirt or getting caught on roots. Meanwhile, 20 miles away, a human military unit was getting very different results. Master Sergeant Sarah Chen watched the alien ships land through her binoculars. She'd been waiting for this moment since the ships first appeared in the sky 3 days ago. While politicians argued and generals made plans, Chen and her engineering team had been preparing. "Johnson, Rodriguez, get the prefab sections ready," she called to her team. "We've got 6 hours to build our base before those aliens figure out what they're doing." Unlike the alien elite, Chen's team knew exactly how to work in a forest. They'd trained in every environment on Earth. They knew which trees to cut, how to level ground quickly, and how to use natural features for defense. The human team moved like a machine. While the aliens struggled with basic setup, the humans were already clearing their site with portable saws. They worked in the darkness using night vision gear, something the light-sensitive aliens couldn't match. "Foundation frames are ready," reported Corporal Johnson. "We can start assembly in 30 minutes. Chen smiled grimly. The aliens had made a crucial mistake. They'd assumed humans were primitive because their technology looked simple. But sometimes simple technology worked better than complex systems, especially in natural environments. The race was on. The Galactic Empire's elite soldiers were supposed to be unstoppable. But in the deep woods of Earth, they were discovering that all their advanced training meant nothing when they couldn't even figure out how to dig a hole in soft ground. As dawn approached, 2 very different stories were unfolding in the same forest. Hour 4 brought new disasters for the Galactic Empire's elite force. Commander Zarthek watched in growing horror as his legendary soldiers faced their greatest enemy yet, a light rain that had started falling from the gray Earth sky. On their homeworlds, weather was controlled by massive machines. Rain was scheduled, predictable, and clean. This wild, chaotic water falling from the sky was something entirely outside their experience. "Sir," Captain Veltar reported, his voice filled with panic. "The rain is interfering with our equipment. Our energy weapons are showing power fluctuations, and the scanner arrays are giving false readings." The Empire's advanced technology was designed for space and artificial environments. The simple moisture in the air was causing systems to malfunction in ways their engineers had never anticipated. Delicate circuits that worked perfectly in the sterile environment of starships were failing when exposed to natural humidity. Private Noxon stumbled over a muddy route, nearly dropping his plasma rifle. "Commander, the ground is becoming unstable. Our footing is compromised." Zarthek looked down at his own feet and realized he was sinking slightly into the forest floor. The rain was turning dirt into mud, another phenomenon that didn't exist in the controlled environments of the Empire. Their rigid military boots, designed for metal floors and artificial surfaces, provided no traction on the slippery natural ground. "Establish emergency shelter," Zarthek ordered, but even as he said it, he realized they had no idea how to do that. Their portable shelters were designed to be anchored to solid foundations, but they'd never managed to create any foundations. Sergeant Kexelon tried to set up a basic weather shield, but the device couldn't find stable anchor points in the soft ground. "Sir, our shelter systems aren't designed for this type of surface." The elite soldiers stood in the rain, getting wetter by the minute. Their advanced armor was waterproof, but it wasn't designed for comfort in natural environments. Condensation was building up inside their helmets, and their communication systems were crackling with static. To make matters worse, the forest seemed to come alive in the rain. Sounds they couldn't identify echoed from every direction. Frogs began croaking in nearby ponds, a sound that terrified soldiers who had never heard anything like it. The alien troops formed a defensive circle, weapons raised, trying to locate threats that didn't exist. "Contact reports from all directions," whispered Corporal Dexvar. "Unknown acoustic signatures surrounding our position." "Those aren't weapons," Zarthek said, but his voice lacked confidence. "They appear to be natural sounds." But his soldiers didn't believe him. Private Zeklos was visibly shaking. "Sir, request permission to fall back to the ships." The idea was tempting. Their transport ships represented safety, familiar technology, controlled environments. But falling back would mean admitting failure, and Zarthek couldn't face that humiliation. Meanwhile, the human team was thriving in the same conditions that were destroying the aliens. "Rain's perfect," Master Sergeant Chen announced as she watched her team work. "It'll give us better cover and slow down any alien advance." The humans had been expecting rain. They'd checked the weather forecast before starting construction. Every piece of their equipment was designed to work in Earth's natural conditions. Their gear was waterproof. Their foundations were designed for drainage, and their soldiers were trained to work in any weather. "Outer perimeter is complete," reported Corporal Johnson, wiping rain from his face. "All defensive positions are operational." The human base now looked like a small fortress. Prefab walls formed a secure compound with multiple defensive positions. Guard towers provided excellent views of the surrounding forest, and hidden sensor pods extended their awareness for miles in every direction. Private Martinez was installing the final pieces of their communications array, a sophisticated system that could contact military bases around the world. Unlike the aliens' failing equipment, this gear was specifically hardened against moisture and designed to work in forests. "Command, this is Firebase Alpha," Martinez spoke into his headset. "Base construction is 90% complete. We have full communications power and defensive capabilities." The voice that crackled back was filled with amazement. "Firebase Alpha, confirm your construction time. Our records show you started less than 5 hours ago." "Confirmed, Command. Estimated full completion in 30 minutes. There was a pause, then. "Outstanding work, Firebase Alpha. Intelligence indicates the alien force is still struggling with basic setup. You may have built the fastest military base in history." Chen smiled as she surveyed their work. The base was a masterpiece of efficient engineering. Every structure served multiple purposes. Every wall was positioned for maximum defensive advantage, and every system was designed to work together seamlessly. Staff Sergeant Kumar finished calibrating their long-range scanners. "Sergeant Chen, I'm picking up the alien position. They're not making much progress." "Show me," Chen said, looking at the display screen. The tactical readout showed the alien force still clustered around their landing site with no visible defensive structures. Their heat signatures indicated they were standing in the open, completely exposed to the elements. "They have no shelter," observed Private Williams. "In this rain, they must be miserable." Chen studied the tactical situation. "They're not just struggling with construction. They're completely unprepared for natural environments. This gives us a massive advantage." Back at the alien site, the situation was approaching complete breakdown. The rain had intensified, and the Empire's elite soldiers were experiencing something they'd never felt before: genuine physical discomfort from natural elements. Their armor was keeping them dry, but they could hear and feel the rain against their suits. The psychological effect was devastating. "Sir," Captain Veltar approached Zarthek, "the troops are requesting permission to return to the ships until weather conditions improve." Zarthek looked at his soldiers. These were warriors who had faced plasma bombardments and laser assaults without flinching. But rain and forest sounds had reduced them to nervous, confused troops who jumped at every shadow. "How long until weather improvement?" he asked. Veltar consulted their atmospheric scanner. "Unknown, sir. Our weather prediction systems don't function properly in this environment. The atmospheric patterns are too chaotic." The word chaotic summed up everything wrong with this planet from the Empire's perspective. They were used to order, control, and predictability. Earth's natural systems operated on principles they didn't understand and couldn't control. A particularly loud thunderclap echoed across the forest, and several soldiers dropped to defensive positions. "Lightning discharge detected," reported the scanner operator. "Natural electrical phenomenon." But even knowing it was natural didn't help. Lightning was another force of nature that didn't exist in the Empire's controlled environments. The idea that electricity could randomly strike from the sky was terrifying to people who had lived their entire lives in artificial habitats. Commander Zarthek made the decision that would doom their mission. "All troops fall back to the transport ships. We'll wait for better conditions before attempting base construction." As the elite soldiers retreated to their ships, they had no idea that 20 miles away, a small human team had just completed the most efficient military base construction in Earth's history. The rain stopped after 6 hours, but the damage to the Galactic Empire's mission was already complete. Inside the lead transport ship, Commander Zarthek stared at tactical displays that showed absolutely no progress. His elite force had been on the ground for 6 hours and had accomplished nothing except proving they couldn't handle natural weather. The most advanced military force in the galaxy had been defeated by water falling from the sky. "Status report," he demanded from Captain Veltar. "Sir, our equipment is still experiencing moisture-related malfunctions," Veltar reported reluctantly. "The technical crew estimates another 4 hours before our systems are fully operational again." Zarthek felt rage building inside him. 4 more hours of delay because of rain. The High Command would never understand how the Empire's finest soldiers could be stopped by something as simple as weather. What about the human forces? Any signs of activity? That's complicated, sir, Veltar admitted. Our long-range scanners are detecting some kind of structure, approximately 20 kilometers from our position. But the readings don't match any known human technology in our databases. Zarthek frowned. Explain. The structure appears to be a military installation, sir. But according to our intelligence, humans require weeks or months to build such facilities. The energy signatures suggest it's fully operational with power generation, communications, and defensive systems. That's impossible, Zarthek snapped. Show me the readings. The tactical display revealed a sophisticated base with clear defensive positions, multiple buildings, and what appeared to be sensor arrays extending into the surrounding forest. The structure was organized, professional, and definitely military in nature. When did this appear? Zarthek asked. Sir, our scans show construction activity beginning approximately 5 hours and 47 minutes ago. The command bridge fell silent. Even with their superior technology, the Empire's forces couldn't build a base that quickly. The idea that primitive humans had constructed a military installation in less than 6 hours was beyond comprehension. There must be an error in the readings, Zarthek said finally. Humans are primitive. They lack advanced construction technology. This installation must have already existed. But Private Noxon, monitoring communications, spoke up hesitantly. Sir, I'm detecting human radio transmissions from that location. They're using basic electromagnetic signals, but the communications appear to be coordinating base operations that began today. Zarthek felt a cold realization creeping over him. While his elite troops had been struggling with mud and rain, a human force had somehow built a complete military base from scratch. At Firebase Alpha, Master Sergeant Chen was having a very different conversation with her command structure. Outstanding work. Sergeant Chen, came the voice from military headquarters. You've achieved something remarkable. How did your team manage such rapid construction? Chen looked around at her soldiers, who were already settling into their new base with practiced efficiency. Simple engineering, sir. We used proven techniques adapted for local conditions. Our equipment was designed for Earth environments, and our personnel trained specifically for rapid deployment. What's your current operational status? Fully operational, sir. We have complete communications, power generation, defensive positions, and living quarters for extended operations. We can maintain this position independently for up to 2 weeks without resupply. Chen's base was more than just quickly built. It was expertly designed. The command center provided excellent visibility of the surrounding area, while remaining protected from attack. Living quarters were comfortable and efficient. The armory was stocked with weapons and ammunition suitable for various scenarios. Most importantly, their sensor network was providing detailed intelligence about the alien force. Sir, reported Staff Sergeant Kumar from the intelligence station, our scanners are picking up detailed information about the alien position. They appear to have retreated to their transport ships and are not showing any signs of base construction activity. Chen studied the tactical display. They gave up? Just like that? It appears so, Sergeant. Their ships landed 6 hours ago, and there's been no construction activity. Our sensors detect some movement around the ships, but no organized base-building operations. Private Thompson, monitoring alien communications, added more intelligence. Sergeant, I'm picking up electromagnetic transmissions from their position. Can't decode them, but the signal patterns suggest confusion and technical difficulties. Chen realized what had happened. They can't adapt to natural environments. Their technology is designed for artificial conditions, and they have no training for wilderness operations. It was a shocking revelation. The Galactic Empire, despite their advanced technology and reputation for conquest, had a critical weakness. They couldn't function outside of controlled environments. Kumar, what's the weather forecast for the next few days? Chen asked. More rain expected tonight, sir. Temperatures dropping into the 40s. Typical Pacific Northwest autumn weather. Chen smiled grimly. If light rain had stopped the aliens completely, a cold, wet night would be even worse for them. Johnson Rodriguez, prepare for night operations, she ordered. If these aliens can't handle basic weather, We might be able to end this invasion before it really starts. Back in the alien command ship, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. The ship's environmental systems were working perfectly, but the psychological damage was already done. The elite soldiers sat in their quarters, unable to understand how they'd been so completely defeated by natural conditions. "Sir," reported the ship's technical officer, "I've completed analysis of the moisture damage to our equipment. Most systems can be repaired, but they'll remain vulnerable to similar conditions." Zarthek felt desperation creeping in. "What about our weapons? Can we attack the human installation from here?" "Our ship-based weapons are fully operational, sir. We could destroy the human base with a single bombardment." For a moment, Zarthek felt hope. Then Captain Veltar spoke up with the problem. "Sir, orbital bombardment would violate Imperial protocol for planetary conquest. We're supposed to establish ground control first, then demand surrender. The High Command expects us to follow standard procedures. Standard procedures that assumed they could build a base and establish control. But they'd already proven they couldn't even construct basic shelter in natural conditions. What are our options?" Zarthek asked. Veltar consulted his tactical display. "We could attempt another ground operation, sir. But weather forecasts indicate more precipitation tonight, and temperatures will drop significantly. More rain and cold weather, conditions that had already proven disastrous for their operations. Alternatively," Veltar continued reluctantly, "we could request reinforcements from the fleet. Additional ships with specialized environmental equipment." Zarthek winced. Requesting reinforcements would mean admitting failure to the High Command. But the alternative was continuing to fail against primitive humans who had somehow outperformed the Empire's elite soldiers. As night approached, two military forces prepared for very different kinds of operations. The humans were ready for anything the aliens might try, operating from a secure base built in record time. The aliens were trapped in their ships, unable to function in the natural environment they'd tried to conquer. The invasion that was supposed to last hours was turning into the Empire's most embarrassing defeat. Night fell on the forest, and with it came the aliens' worst nightmare yet. The temperature dropped to 42 degrees Fahrenheit, barely above freezing by human standards, but absolutely frigid for beings who had never experienced uncontrolled environments. Inside their transport ships, the Galactic Empire's elite soldiers could feel the cold pressing against their hulls like an enemy force. Commander Zarthek paced the command bridge, watching external temperature readings with growing alarm. "How can the temperature vary so dramatically without warning?" he demanded. "Sir," replied the ship's environmental officer, "natural planetary systems don't maintain constant conditions. Temperature, humidity, and atmospheric pressure change based on solar position, weather patterns, and seasonal cycles. The concept was alien to the Empire's forces. On their controlled worlds, temperature never varied more than a degree or two. The idea that a planet's surface could naturally become cold enough to threaten equipment function was terrifying. What about our ground equipment? Can it operate in these conditions?" "Unknown, sir. Our systems are rated for controlled environments only. We have no data on performance in naturally varying temperatures." Zarthek felt panic rising. They were trapped inside their ships by conditions that primitive humans apparently considered normal. Meanwhile, at Firebase Alpha, the temperature drop was just another factor in their operational planning. "Night watch rotation is set," reported Sergeant Peterson. "Thermal gear is distributed and all positions are manned." Master Sergeant Chen reviewed the night operations plan. Her team was not only comfortable in these conditions, they were using them to their advantage. The cold would reduce alien equipment efficiency while having minimal impact on human operations. "Kumar, what's our intelligence picture?" Chen asked. "The alien ships are maintaining position, but their external activity has dropped to 0, Staff Sergeant Kumar reported. "No movement, no construction attempts, no reconnaissance. They appear to be completely inactive," Private Thompson added from the communications station. "I'm detecting increased electromagnetic activity from their ships, Sergeant. Signal patterns suggest internal discussions, possibly debates or arguments." Chen smiled. The aliens were arguing among themselves while her team was planning their next move. "Here's what we're going to do," Chen announced to her team. "We're going to give our galactic visitors a demonstration of human night operations capability." 2 hours after midnight, the demonstration began. Zarthek was awakened by urgent alerts from his ship's sensors. "Sir," Captain Veltar called over the intercom, We're detecting movement around our perimeter. Zarthek rushed to the bridge, where tactical displays showed multiple contacts moving through the forest around their position. The contacts appeared and disappeared like ghosts, never staying in one place long enough for clear identification. How many? Zarthek demanded. Unknown, sir. The contacts don't match any patterns in our tactical database. They move in ways our systems can't predict or track effectively. What the aliens were seeing was a classic human reconnaissance patrol. Chen had sent 3 two-person teams to observe the alien ships and gather intelligence. Using night vision equipment and forest camouflage, the humans moved through terrain they knew perfectly, while remaining invisible to alien sensors designed for open space combat. Corporal Johnson crept to within 200 yards of the nearest transport ship. Through his night vision scope, he could see the ship's exterior clearly. "No external defenses," he whispered into his radio. "No guards posted. They're completely sealed inside." From another position, Private Martinez observed the second ship. "Same here. No external activity at all. It's like they're afraid to come outside." The third team, led by Private Williams, confirmed the pattern. The aliens were completely contained within their ships, making no effort to establish external security or reconnaissance. Inside the lead ship, the situation was becoming desperate. "Sir," reported Sergeant Kexelon, "the contacts are definitely hostile forces conducting reconnaissance. They're gathering intelligence about our position and capabilities." Zarthek studied the tactical display, watching as ghostly contacts appeared and disappeared around his ships. "Can we engage them?" "Negative, sir. Our ship-based weapons aren't designed for precision targeting of individual soldiers in forest environments. We could destroy large areas, but we can't target specific contacts. The Empire's weapons were designed for space battles and planetary bombardment, not for fighting individual soldiers hiding in trees. Their technology was too powerful and too imprecise for this kind of warfare." "What about sending out patrols?" Zarthek asked. Captain Veltar hesitated. "Sir, our troops have no training for night operations in natural environments. In these temperatures and visibility conditions, they would be at severe disadvantage against forces familiar with the terrain." Zarthek realized the horrible truth. His elite soldiers, legendary throughout the galaxy, were completely helpless against human troops using basic reconnaissance tactics. The human teams continued their intelligence gathering for 3 hours, mapping every detail of the alien position. They identified weapon ports, communication arrays, engine exhausts, and structural weak points. More importantly, they confirmed that the aliens were completely unable to operate outside their ships. "Reconnaissance complete," Johnson reported as the teams returned to base. "The aliens are trapped in their ships and have no external defensive capability." Chen reviewed the intelligence reports with satisfaction. "Outstanding work. What did you learn?" "They're completely helpless out here, Sergeant," Martinez reported. "No external guards, no perimeter defense, no reconnaissance activity. They're acting like prisoners in their own ships." "Their ships are well armed," Johnson added, "but the weapons are designed for large-scale destruction, not precision combat. They can't use them without violating their own rules of engagement." Chen understood the implications immediately. The aliens had trapped themselves in a tactical situation they couldn't escape. They couldn't leave their ships because they couldn't function in natural environments. They couldn't use their heavy weapons without destroying everything in the area. And they couldn't establish ground control because they had no idea how to operate in forests. "They're stuck," she announced to her team. "They came here expecting to conquer a primitive planet, but they can't even handle basic environmental conditions." Meanwhile, Commander Zarthek was facing the most humiliating moment of his military career. "Sir," Captain Veltar reported, "I recommend we contact the fleet and request immediate extraction." "Extraction?" Zarthek's voice cracked. "We haven't even attempted to complete our mission." "Sir, we've been on the ground for 12 hours and have made no progress toward establishing control. We can't build a base, we can't operate in natural conditions, and we can't engage enemy forces effectively. We are completely unable to function in this environment." Zarthek looked around his bridge at officers who had conquered star systems. Now they were being defeated by cold air and hidden enemies they couldn't even see properly. "How do we explain this to the High Command?" he asked quietly. Veltar had no answer. How could they explain that the Empire's elite forces had been stopped by weather, confused by natural sounds, and outmaneuvered by primitive humans using basic military tactics? As dawn approached, the situation was clear. The humans had built a complete military base in 6 hours, and were now conducting successful operations against a technologically superior enemy. The aliens were trapped in their ships, unable to complete their mission or even defend themselves effectively. The Great Galactic Invasion was turning into the greatest military embarrassment in Empire history. Dawn brought a moment of desperation for Commander Zarthek that would change everything. The commander stood on his bridge, staring at reports that documented 12 hours of complete failure. No base construction, no territorial control, no progress toward conquest. His elite soldiers were cowering in their ships while primitive humans had built a fortress and were conducting military operations with embarrassing efficiency. "Sir," Captain Veltar approached carefully, "we're receiving priority communications from the Imperial Fleet Command." Zarthek's blood ran cold. The High Command was calling for a status report. How could he explain that the Empire's finest assault force had been defeated by trees, rain, and cold air? "Put them through," he said, dreading every word. The holographic image of Admiral Kethvar materialized on the bridge. The Admiral's scarred face and cold eyes had intimidated countless worlds into surrender. "Commander Zarthek, report your progress." "Admiral," Zarthek began, his voice carefully controlled, "we have encountered unexpected resistance." "Unexpected resistance?" The Admiral's expression darkened. "Our intelligence indicated this primitive world would surrender within hours. What kind of resistance could possibly delay the Empire's elite forces?" Zarthek struggled to find words that wouldn't sound completely insane. "The local environmental conditions are challenging our operational capabilities." "Environmental conditions?" Admiral Kethavar's voice rose dangerously. "You're telling me that weather is stopping the conquest of a primitive planet?" "Sir, the conditions here are unlike anything in our tactical databases. The surface environment is completely uncontrolled. Temperature varies wildly. Moisture falls from the sky at random intervals, and the terrain is covered with organic growth that interferes with our equipment." The Admiral stared at him in disbelief. "Are you seriously reporting that the Empire's most advanced assault force is being defeated by plants and weather?" Before Zarthek could answer, Sergeant Kexlon interrupted with urgent news. "Commander, the human forces are moving." At Firebase Alpha, Master Sergeant Chen had made a decision that would end the invasion permanently. "Listen up, people," she announced to her team. "Intelligence reports that the aliens are receiving communications from their command structure. They're probably being ordered to complete their mission or face consequences." Chen had been a soldier long enough to recognize desperation in enemy forces. Desperate enemies either retreated or did something stupid. Either way, it was time to force the issue. "Here's the plan," she continued. "We're going to give these galactic invaders a choice: surrender or leave. But we're going to make the offer in a way they can't ignore." 30 minutes later, the aliens received the most shocking surprise of their military careers. "Sir," reported the sensor operator on Zarthek's bridge, "we have incoming contacts. Multiple aircraft approaching our position." "Military aircraft?" Zarthek demanded. "Negative, sir. The signatures appear to be civilian helicopters." Through the ship's viewports, the alien soldiers watched in amazement as 3 news helicopters circled their position. Cameras were clearly visible, broadcasting live footage of the stranded alien ships to the entire world. But that wasn't the most shocking part. Walking through the forest toward their position was a single human figure carrying a white flag. Master Sergeant Chen approached the alien ships alone, with no weapons, no armor, and no fear. "Sir," Captain Veltar reported in a stunned voice, "the human leader is requesting to communicate with us." Zarthek watched through the viewport as Chen stopped 50 yards from his ship and waited calmly. Behind her, barely visible in the trees, he could see other human soldiers positioned to provide cover. But Chen herself stood alone, offering to talk. "She's negotiating?" Zarthek asked in confusion. "It appears so, sir. Our translation systems are picking up her communication attempt. She's requesting a parley under traditional military protocols." Admiral Kethvar's holographic image was still active on the bridge. "Commander, what is happening there?" "Sir, the human military leader is requesting to negotiate terms." "Terms?" The Admiral's voice was incredulous. "A primitive human is offering to negotiate with the Galactic Empire?" Through their external speakers, Chen's voice reached the alien ships. "Commander of the Imperial Forces, I am Master Sergeant Sarah Chen of the United States Army. I'm here to offer you terms for ending this conflict." Zarthek activated his own external speakers. Human, you are addressing the forces of the Galactic Empire. We do not negotiate with primitive species. Chen's response was calm and professional. Commander, with respect, your forces have been on the ground for 14 hours without establishing any operational capability. You've made no progress toward your objectives and you're unable to function in our environment. I'm offering you a way to end this situation with dignity. The words hit like a physical blow. A primitive human was offering them dignity. The implications were staggering. What terms? Zarthek found himself asking. Simple, Chen replied. You leave Earth immediately and permanently. In exchange, we don't broadcast the details of how quickly we outperformed your military capabilities. Your reputation in the galaxy remains intact. Admiral Kethvar's image was furious. Commander, you will not negotiate with primitives. Complete your mission immediately. But Zarthek was looking at tactical displays that showed the human base. A fortress built in hours while his troops couldn't even establish basic shelter. He was watching news helicopters broadcasting their failure to the entire planet. He was facing the reality that humans had completely outmaneuvered the Empire's finest soldiers. Admiral, Zarthek said slowly, we cannot complete the mission. Cannot. Kethavar's voice was deadly quiet. Sir, the humans have demonstrated superior operational capability in natural environments. They built a complete military installation in the time it took us to fail at basic shelter construction. They've conducted successful reconnaissance operations while our forces remain trapped in our ships. They are tactically superior in this environment. The admission hung in the air like a death sentence. Chen's voice came through the speakers again. Commander, you have 30 minutes to decide. Accept our terms or we'll demonstrate additional capabilities that will make your situation even more embarrassing. Zarthek looked at his officers, his elite soldiers, his advanced equipment that couldn't function in a forest. Then he looked at the human base visible in the distance, a monument to efficient engineering and military competence. What additional capabilities? He asked. Chen smiled, though the aliens couldn't see it. Commander, we built our base in 6 hours. Your forces have been here 14 hours and accomplished nothing. Do you really want to find out what else we can do that you can't? The question hung in the forest air as the most powerful military force in the galaxy realized they had been completely outclassed by the humans they'd come to conquer. Admiral Kethavar's holographic image flickered with rage, but even he could see the tactical displays showing the human base. The evidence was undeniable. The invasion was over. The only question now was whether the Empire would admit defeat or face even greater humiliation. The 30 minutes felt like 30 hours aboard the Imperial flagship. Commander Zarthek stood in his command center, surrounded by the most advanced military technology in the galaxy, facing the most humiliating decision in Empire history. Through the viewports he could see Master Sergeant Chen waiting patiently in the forest, while news helicopters circled overhead broadcasting their failure to the entire planet. Sir, Captain Veltar said quietly, Admiral Kethavar is demanding an immediate response to his orders. Zarthek looked at the tactical displays one more time. The human base stood complete and operational, built in 6 hours by a force a fraction of their size. His own elite troops hadn't managed to dig a single foundation hole in 14 hours. The comparison was devastating. Veltar, he said slowly, in your professional military opinion, can we complete this mission? The question hung in the air. Every officer on the bridge knew the answer, but saying it aloud would be admitting the unthinkable. Sir, Veltar replied carefully, our forces are completely unable to operate in natural environments. We cannot build bases, we cannot conduct ground operations, and we cannot function outside our ships. The humans have demonstrated superior tactical capabilities in every category of ground warfare. And if we use ship-based weapons to destroy their base, that would violate Imperial conquest protocols, sir. We would be admitting we cannot defeat them through proper military means. The High Command would view that as an even greater failure than retreat. Zarthek nodded slowly. The Empire's own rules and traditions had trapped them in an impossible situation. Meanwhile, Admiral Kethavar's holographic image crackled with impatience. Commander, respond immediately. You will complete this conquest. Admiral, Zarthek said, his voice steady despite his racing heart, I formally request permission to withdraw our forces. The bridge fell silent. In 1,000 years of Empire expansion, no Imperial commander had ever requested retreat from a primitive planet. Denied, Kethavar roared. You will establish ground control immediately. Sir, with respect, that is impossible. Our forces lack the capability to function in this environment. Continuing this operation will only result in further humiliation for the Empire. Admiral Kethavar's face turned a darker shade of gray. Commander, you are dangerously close to charges of cowardice and incompetence. Zarthek felt a strange calm descend over him. Admiral, I am already guilty of incompetence. I led the Empire's finest soldiers into a situation where we were completely outmatched by a primitive human engineering team. The question now is whether we compound that failure or accept reality. Through the external speakers, Chen's voice came again. Commander, 20 minutes remaining. I should mention that our base construction team is already preparing to build a second installation if needed. How long do you think it would take us to build 10 bases? 20? 50? The implications hit Zarthek like a physical blow. If humans could build military bases in 6 hours, they could construct an entire defensive network faster than the Empire could plan a single assault. The tactical balance of power had completely shifted. Veltar, Zarthek said quietly, activate our external communications. Open channel to the human commander. Sir? Veltar looked shocked. Do it. The communication link opened. Master Sergeant Chen, this is Commander Zarthek of the Imperial Fleet. I am prepared to discuss your terms. Admiral Kethavar's image exploded with rage. Commander, you are hereby relieved of command. Captain Veltar, you will. Zarthek calmly deactivated the holographic communication system. Veltar, as senior commander of this operation, I am making a tactical decision based on battlefield conditions. Do you concur with my assessment of our situation? Captain Veltar looked around the bridge at officers who had conquered star systems, but couldn't build a tent in the woods. I concur, sir. We cannot complete this mission. Chen's voice came through clearly. Commander, our terms are simple. Immediate withdrawal from Earth with an agreement never to return. In exchange, the specific details of this operation remain classified military information. Zarthek understood what she was offering. The humans would keep the embarrassing details secret, allowing the Empire to save face. It was more generous than they deserved. We accept your terms, he announced. Within the forest, Chen nodded professionally. Understood, Commander. We'll monitor your departure from orbit. Have a safe journey home. As the alien ships lifted off from Earth's surface and disappeared into space, Master Sergeant Chen stood in the forest with her team, watching humanity's first and last alien invasion end in complete failure. Well, said Corporal Johnson, that was easier than expected, Chen smiled. Sometimes the best weapon is just being better at your job than the other guy. Staff Sergeant Kumar was already coordinating with Command Headquarters. Base Firebase Alpha reporting mission complete. Hostile forces have withdrawn from Earth. Time from initial contact to resolution, 16 hours, 23 minutes. The response from Command was filled with amazement. Firebase Alpha, confirm your timeline. You built a complete military base and ended an alien invasion in less than 17 hours? Confirmed, Command. The base construction took 6 hours. The invasion lasted about 10 hours after that before the aliens gave up. 3 weeks later, a classified report circulated through the highest levels of human military command. The report detailed how a small engineering team had accidentally discovered the greatest weakness of an advanced galactic empire. They had become so dependent on controlled environments that they couldn't function in natural conditions. The report concluded with a simple observation. The aliens came to Earth expecting to conquer a primitive planet. Instead, they discovered that sometimes primitive techniques work better than advanced technology. Their soldiers were trained for space warfare and artificial environments. Our soldiers were trained for Earth. Deep in space, the Imperial Fleet received Commander Zarthek's final report on the failed Earth operation. The report stated simply, mission unsuccessful due to unexpected environmental challenges and superior enemy tactical capabilities. The High Command never understood what had really happened. How could they? The idea that the Empire's elite forces could be defeated by weather and outperformed by primitive humans using basic engineering was too impossible to believe, but in the classified archives of both civilizations, the truth remained. The most advanced military force in the galaxy had been completely outmatched by a small human team that knew how to build things quickly and efficiently. Master Sergeant, Chen's firebase was eventually dismantled and the site returned to forest. But the techniques and lessons learned from that remarkable 6-hour construction project became standard training throughout human military forces. After all, you never knew when you might need to build a base faster than an alien invasion force expected. The humans had proven that sometimes the most advanced technology in the universe was no match for good old-fashioned competence, teamwork, and the ability to adapt to natural conditions. In 6 hours, they had built more than just a military base. They had built the foundation for Earth's defense against any future threats from the stars. The Galactic Empire never returned to Earth. Some threats, they had learned, were simply too dangerous to face.